Yeah, that tracks. So here's the thing about David Ayer. If you go through a lot of his movies, and I've seen a lot of them, I haven't seen all of them, but I've seen a lot. He has a real solid penchant for very like gritty, dirty
Yeah,
films.
yeah, that is very evident in this movie. Let me tell you.
Here's the thing, though. It clashes with Stallone's sensibilities. There's a lot about this that has Stallone written all over it, and there's a lot about this movie that has David Ayer written all over it. And it's fairly obvious, like, which is which. And those two things never really blend. And it's kind of a problem this movie has. So, yeah, David Ayer, again, he's not a bad director. He's a little one note. I mean, The Beekeeper is actually a bit of a departure from him if you look at it being as stylized as it is.
The Beekeeper also had. I want you to give what I'm about to say a moment of thought before you knee jerk react.
All right.
The Beekeeper had a filter, like a light kind of sheet of optimism to it. The 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 Beekeeper, there seemed to be embedded in the theme and in the narrative of hope. There's none in this movie. I like this movie and we'll talk about that, but that all that hope, that optimism, that sense of there's good in the world if you dig enough for it is not here in a working man.
Generally, no. And again, there's just a lot of his aesthetic and his sort of sensibilities that run afoul of Stallone. Stallone likes very stylized things.
I'll tell you,
By way of example,
before you go into your example,
okay?
if you're trying to figure out what the aesthetic of this movie is, imagine two guys lamenting the state of film, and they're having a beer, and they're just like, God, doesn't modern film suck? Of course it sucks. Have you seen the latest Snow White movie? My God, we are at peak suckness here. And if we don't get out of this death spiral, there'll be no more Hollywood left. Yeah, somebody should make a movie that gets us back to, that gets us back to good movies from people who like movies. We need gritty movies. He's like, yeah, you're right. We need gritty, manly movies. Yeah, man. We need to, and this is just building. We need movies that are just drowning in testosterone. Drowning. I practically want to shoot my testosterone all over your face. And this is, and finally they pass out drunk. And when they wake up, Santa Claus has left them a working man script in their hands. And they're like, we have to make this movie. But let's make it as literally dark as humanly possible. Like, let's not use lights at all in this movie. It's just natural lighting if there's any at all. And that's how we
There's a
landed
few
here.
places I'm going to push back on that, but again, a few places, but I
But you
don't
know what
think
I
you're
mean?
wrong.
They were. This is almost the joke half idea that Dorian and I had about making a movie that is purposely against current motifs in movies, to the point where you kind of lose sense of what it is you're doing, and now you're just being anti whatever the now is. That's kind of how this felt to me. It's probably why I like it as much as I do.
Mm. Well, just, again, kind of by way of example, there is a biker club in this movie, the leader of which sits on a throne of motorcycle mufflers. This is not a David Ayer conceit. That is a like Sylvester Stallone went, okay, what do I think is cool? And he visualized that, I would guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and again, you go from this like slightly rundown honky tonk exterior of this place through a tunnel into Sylvester Stallone's brain, where this meth dealing biker gang's leader sits on a throne of mufflers, like the throne of swords from Game of Thrones. Like, that's kind of what we're dealing with here, and that's the dichotomy of vision at play, and it really is an issue for this movie for me.
All right, let's get into the plot of this thing. And there isn't a whole lot here, so this shouldn't go very long, and I'm not going to interrupt you.
So we open following a
So hang on.
hobo.
So if you don't do any tangents or go into any political speeches or bang a shoe, we should get through this quickly, yeah?
One of these days, I'm going to have a shoe on hand and just visually for the gag, but I don't at the moment. So you're in good luck.
Make it a nice shoe.
No,
Come on,
it'll be the worst one I have.
you don't think Khrushchev wore nice shoes to the UN?
I don't think we deserve nice things.